Hey everyone, it's Catherine with Ultra Health and Wellness Coach and Podcast. Hope you guys are doing well today. Just a couple of reminders. If you haven't already, please follow me on Instagram and Facebook. Handle Ultra Health and Wellness, all spelled out. So be sure to follow me. Send me DMs with any questions you may have. Also, if you want to email me, you can email me at oneultracoach@gmail.com. One is in the number one, ultracoach@gmail.com. So do that. Let's connect because you get a free 30-minute discovery session. We can talk about your goals. It's not 30 minutes of me trying to sell you on health coaching. I would love to help you get your goals, but this is totally free for you, and we can work on getting you there. And just imagine that feeling of success and empowerment you will have when you reach your goals. So if you haven't done that already, be sure to do so. My website is getting revamped, so hopefully pretty soon that'll be up and coming, and it'll have other places where you can reach out to me as well there. So I want to talk about how often do we catch ourselves being judgy, not only to others, but ourselves as well. Have you ever noticed when these thoughts start to kind of creep in your mind, when you don't really recognize it until all of a sudden it's just like everything is bad and everything is just not right, and you don't know what would make you happy, or you just feel like you just want to go hide underneath of a rock. I am guilty of this. Like, I just want to, I call it ostriching, where I just want to put my hand in the sand and be like, oh, I just want everything to be better. But we have to make it better, right? We have to put in the work to make it better. But getting back to noticing when we judge ourselves or we're judging others, when we start to unpeel this onion, most often we're being so judgy because we feel bad about ourselves and we're projecting it on others. Think about it. When we're being judgy, we're typically in a bad mood. We're unhappy with something in our lives. And for the poor person behind us or in front of us in line can be like breathing wrong. And we're probably like, ah. But, like I said, it's mostly like there's some kind of internal battle going on there. We have that negative lens that tells us everything is wrong, everything's subpar, nothing's ever going to be right. The Chicken Little syndrome is happening. The sky is falling and we're not going to survive. Deep breath in. Let it out, because we are. So when we find ourselves in the pattern, what do we do, right? Like, all right, Catherine, I've noticed myself. I'm in this pattern. I'm super judgy. Everything's not right. What do I do? How do I break this cycle? We need to take a step back to find out what's going on in our life. We also need to remember that even though others may not be living to the standard or what we consider their highest potential, they're doing the best they can. Bear with me, because when I first read this in one of Brene Brown's books, and I can't remember which one because I love her books. They're so good. And when she was talking about that, she also struggled with like everybody doing the best that they can in life. And I was like, when I read it, I was like, no, wait, no, they're not. But really, they are. Because, nobody wants to suffer. Like, nobody wants to give themselves a hard time. Granted, I'm not saying some of their actions make their life harder, but it's not like they wake up out of bed and say, I'm gonna make my day so stinking miserable that I'm gonna have a horrible luck, and I am just not gonna give a rip about anything today, and whatever bad choices happen to me, that's fine. I'm gonna just be as worthless as I can possibly be. Nobody wakes up like that. So when But when I heard like everybody was trying the best that they can, like the perfectionist in me like wanted to like, and I mean like perfectionist, like we're talking like rigid perfectionist, wanted to scream back, no, 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 they're not. Deep breath in, and I had to kind of take myself out of the equation. So looking back at how the person has caused you the annoyance that they have, you got to take yourself out of the equation. And are you able to tell it in a different story? Because like I said, nobody wants to create a life where they struggle. So even though we may not agree with the decisions that they are making the best decisions they know how at that time. So let's bring it on back to ourselves. So when we're judging ourselves and we're nitpicking at ourselves, and I like to think of when I think about this, I like to think of like a little hen just kind of like pecking at like a person. So when we're like nitpicking at ourselves about maybe the little extra weight or a lot of extra weight that we may have, or the stupid joke at the wrong time, or for being late, or for getting something, the list goes on and on and on. We're not trying to make things hard on ourselves. We're doing the best we can with the information and energy we have. Yet, we hold ourselves to this unrealistic standard that we have to be perfect in every single little aspect of our lives, and it's not true at all. Not true. Should we try our best? Yes, absolutely. We tried our best, and that way we can say that we gave it our all, right? But we also have to accept that we're not perfect. And this is where it can get tricky, right? Because being such a rigid perfectionist and having very little gray area before, when I was working through my eating disorder, there was very little gray area. It was either black or white, it was all or nothing. It was, so I had to kind of reset my standards and reset my thinking. So we have to have a clear understanding of what our best looks like and realize it's not perfect. As I mentioned earlier, we have limited time. We have limited information. We have limited energy. We have limited resources. So if we did our top performance using the means that we had at the time, we did our best. Also, I would like to mention, how boring would it be if everything was perfect? Just perfect. It would be pretty dang boring, right? Like a little bit of imperfection spices things up a little bit. So in order to experience and feel the reward, so we're talking pleasure, we have to have experienced something negative. So I'm going to unpack this a little bit because you're probably like, what the flip are you talking about, Catherine? Like, this doesn't make sense. You want us to suffer? No, I don't want you to suffer. Like, I'm not talking necessarily like we should all suffer. I mean, we're going to experience events, that impact us negatively. But so let me unpack it. When we experience something negative, we would never know how great we have it when we do get it. It's a lot of it's in it. But it's, you got to kind of fill in the blank here. So think about the annoyance of losing electricity, right? So aggravating. You can't do, how many times do you like walk into the room and you like flick on the light and the light on, the light switch and it doesn't come open. It doesn't come on. And you're like, oh crap, that's right. The lights aren't working. So totally, negative experience. Nobody enjoys when the lights go out. Little kids might for like maybe the first 5 minutes. But then when the power is restored, we're happy. Hence, we get the pleasure. So we have to have that negative impact to be able to fully appreciate what we do have. So instead of thinking something always happens to you, reframe it in saying that something is always happening for you, right? Like our path in this universe, like things happen for a reason. I am a true believer in that. I keep joking around saying I'm going to write a book about some of the crazy things in my life that have happened that, like, I swear when I tell people about some of these things, they look at me like I have 6 heads and I'm BSing them, but I'm really not. But anyway, so things are always happening for you for a reason, and see how that changes your point of view. I'm not saying it's making things any less frustrating. So instead of like getting all like upset about it and about how it's ruining your life, you can think about like, what is the universe or God, whichever like you want to use, trying to teach me or providing me with this experience to be able to grow, right? Because we don't grow when we're not forced out of our comfort zone. So we got to get out of the comfort zone. So it helps us to just start to change that negative lens bias that we have that's going on in our brain. And just as a side note, that negative lens is totally natural for us, right? Because it goes back to the caveman days when we're like constantly like looking out for that saber-toothed tiger that's around that bush that wants to have us for dinner, but we don't want to be their dinner. So we're always like scanning the environment for like the negative things. And that's just kind of how our brain is wired. The nice thing about our brain is that it can be rewired and to a more positive lens. And mindset is everything. And so we look at this, we looked at, we give each other grace, right? Like, we're not perfect. It would be really boring if we were all perfect. And just try to embrace the thought of everybody on this earth is doing the best that they can with the means that they have. Doesn't necessarily mean we have to agree with it, right? It's kind of like forgiveness. Just because we forgive a person doesn't mean we have to like them. It doesn't mean we have to trust them. It's just we're not going to give them free rent in our head anymore. So we need to give ourselves self-compassion about, yes, we're not perfect. That's okay. Life happens. And then, life is messy, but messy works. Like, we can get going with that. Like, we can create a beautiful life with the mess. It's kind of like an abstract art. But just don't beat yourself up. Don't beat up anybody else, mentally or physically. And give each other grace. Give yourself self-compassion. I hope you found this interesting. Feel free to DM me on Facebook and Instagram, Ultra Health and Wellness, all spelled out. And if you have any questions you would like to email me, send them to me at ultracoach@gmail.com. 1 is in the number 1, ultracoach@gmail.com. Be sure to listen each and every week. Drop me some comments. Be sure to subscribe. I also have a YouTube channel, Ultra Health and Wellness. Find me there. Give me some thumbs up and leave some comments. And be sure to tune in next week because your health deserves it. Thank you and God bless.